The man never imagined that a simple act of kindness could turn into the most terrifying moment of his life. It began on an ordinary afternoon when he heard faint cries near the roadside bushes. At first, he thought it was just the wind playing tricks on his ears, but the sound grew louder, more desperate, almost like a baby sobbing in the distance. Curiosity pulled him closer. As he pushed aside the thick leaves, his eyes fell on a tiny creature shivering helplessly in the dirt. It was small, frail, and trembling as though the world had already given up on it. His heart melted instantly. "It's just a puppy," he whispered, reaching down gently with both hands. Its fur was wet, matted, and the poor thing's ribs showed through its fragile body. Without hesitation, he wrapped the trembling creature in his jacket. "Don't worry, little one, you're safe now," he said, believing he had just rescued a helpless pup from certain death. Strangers passing by smiled warmly, admiring his kindness. Some even stopped to pat him on the back, praising the compassion of a man who cared enough to save a voiceless soul. In that moment, he felt proud. He believed fate had chosen him to be the hero of this innocent life. He hurried home, made a small bed from an old blanket, and placed the creature gently inside. Its cries softened as though it knew it had finally found comfort. He poured some milk into a bowl and carefully tried to feed it, but the little one seemed confused, almost reluctant, as if milk was something unfamiliar. He brushed it off, thinking it was simply weak or scared. That night, he barely slept. Every sound from the box pulled him out of bed. He kept checking, adjusting the blanket, stroking its tiny head. The bond formed quickly. By morning, he had already decided this puppy was going to be part of his family. But as the sun rose, strange details began to unsettle him. Its eyes, they didn't seem like a puppy's eyes. Too sharp, too watchful. When it stretched, its claws looked oddly pointed, not like the soft pads he had seen on dogs before. And its cries, they carried a strange pitch, sometimes more like a hiss than a whimper. Still, he dismissed these doubts. Love had blinded him. He told himself, "It's just scared. It needs time." On the third day, he decided to take the puppy to the vet for a proper checkup. He carried the small creature in a box, humming softly to calm it down. People on the street leaned over curiously, some smiling, some whispering. One woman even muttered, "That doesn't look like a dog," but he ignored her. He was determined to give his new friend the best care possible. The clinic smelled of antiseptic and quiet worry. He walked in, placed the box on the counter, and told the receptionist, "I found this puppy. Please, I want to make sure it's healthy." She peered inside, her smile fading just slightly, but she quickly excused herself and called for the vet. A tall man in a white coat entered, wiping his hands. He greeted politely, then bent down to look inside the box. In that instant, his expression changed. His eyes widened. His face drained of all color, turning pale as though he had seen a ghost. He didn't speak at first. His hands froze midair. The silence stretched, heavy and chilling. The rescuer's heart raced. "Is something wrong?" he asked nervously. "Please tell me. Is the puppy sick?" The vet swallowed hard, then leaned closer, studying every detail of the trembling creature. His voice shook when he finally spoke. "This is not a puppy." The man laughed nervously, thinking it was a mistake. "Of course it is. Look at it, it's tiny, helpless. I've been feeding it, keeping it warm. What else could it be?" But the vet didn't smile. He carefully closed the box, his hands almost trembling. "Sir," he said firmly, "what you brought into this clinic is far more dangerous than you realize." Confusion swirled through the man's mind. He looked down at the box again. The creature stared back with those piercing eyes, silent now, as if it knew a secret no one else did. His stomach twisted. Doubt crept into his heart. All the love, all the pride he had felt for rescuing it, began to shatter. "Dangerous?" he whispered. "What are you talking about? What exactly did I bring into my home?" The vet glanced around, lowering his voice as though even the walls shouldn't hear the truth. "If you had kept this in your house much longer, things could have ended very differently for you." The man's throat went dry. His mind replayed the nights he had spent lying awake, the strange cries in the darkness, the sharpness of its claws, the way it refused milk. He realized he had ignored all the warning signs. He thought he had saved a puppy, but what if he had brought something else entirely into his life? The creature shifted in the box, its small body trembling with a strange energy, its eyes locking on him with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. Suddenly, he wasn't sure if he had rescued it, or if it had lured him. The room fell into a heavy silence. The man stood frozen, his heart pounding against his chest, waiting for the vet to explain. Every second felt like an eternity. Finally, the vet sighed and motioned for him to follow into a private examination room. He carried the box carefully, as though handling something fragile yet unpredictable. Once the door closed, the vet placed the box on the metal table and leaned in close. His face was pale, his voice calm but laced with urgency. "Listen to me very carefully," he began. "This is not a dog. What you found in those bushes belongs to the wild. It's a species that should never be kept inside a home." The man's eyes widened. "Wild? What do you mean?" "It's small, it's helpless. It can't even eat properly. How dangerous can it be?" The vet's gaze hardened. He carefully lifted the creature from the box with thick gloves, holding it up for a clearer view. The man gasped. Under the bright fluorescent light, the truth began to reveal itself. Its fur wasn't the soft coat of a puppy but rough, uneven, almost spiked in patches. Its teeth, tiny but razor-sharp, gleamed when it opened its mouth. Its tail flicked with a nervous energy, longer and more whip-like than any dog's. And those eyes, they didn't just look at him, they studied him, calculating. "This," the vet said firmly, "is a wild predator. Very young, yes, but make no mistake, it's not meant to live with people. You might think you saved it, but if you kept it any longer, you wouldn't be the master in your own home. It would grow, and it would learn. And one day, it would turn." The man's stomach twisted. He staggered back, his hands trembling. Images flooded his mind. Those sharp cries in the night, the way it refused milk, the strange claw marks he had noticed near the blanket. Suddenly it all made sense, and the realization chilled him to the bone. "No, no, that can't be," he whispered, his voice cracking. "I held it. I cared for it. It trusted me." The vet's eyes softened, though his tone remained grave. "I don't doubt your kindness. You saved it from the cold, and in its own way, it accepted your warmth. But instincts are stronger than emotions. When this little one grows, it won't remember your jacket or your milk. It will remember its nature. And its nature is not to be your pet." The man felt his chest tighten. He remembered how proud he had been, showing the creature to strangers, dreaming of the bond they would share. Now, those dreams shattered like glass. Still, a stubborn part of him clung to hope. "There must be something I can do. Maybe it's different. Maybe if I raise it, it will learn." The vet shook his head slowly. "Do you know how many people have thought the same? They all believe love can tame the wild. But when the claws sharpen and the hunger grows, reality always returns. The lucky ones walk away with scars. The unlucky," he let the sentence fade, the weight of unspoken stories filling the room. The man swallowed hard. He stared at the creature, so small and fragile in appearance, yet carrying the promise of danger. The conflicting emotions tore at him: fear, sadness, betrayal, and still a trace of love. How could something that felt so innocent also be so threatening? As if sensing his turmoil, the creature let out a strange sound, half whimper, half hiss. Its eyes locked onto his, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw a flicker of recognition, as though it remembered the warmth of his jacket, the nights he stayed awake by its side. That single glance pierced his heart. The vet placed the creature back into the box, closing it firmly. "You've done your part. You saved its life. But now you must let go. It doesn't belong to you, and keeping it will only end in disaster." The man's legs felt heavy, his throat dry. "So what happens now?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We'll transfer it to a sanctuary," the vet explained. "Experts will care for it, Teach it to survive where it truly belongs. It won't be easy, for you or for it, but it's the only way. The words stabbed like knives. He had imagined years of companionship, walks in the park, moments of joy and comfort. Now, he was being told to hand over the creature he had already come to love. Tears welled in his eyes. He wanted to argue, to fight, to hold on just a little longer. But deep inside, he knew the vet was right. Slowly, he nodded. His voice broke as he whispered, "Take care of it, promise me it will be safe." The vet gave a solemn nod. "I promise. You did the right thing bringing it here. Not many would have. That act alone may have saved more than one life." The man closed his eyes, his mind replaying every moment. The first cry he heard in the bushes, the warmth of holding it close, the tiny heartbeat against his chest. And now, the image of those sharp teeth and calculating eyes haunted him. He turned to leave, his steps heavy, his heart shattered. As he reached the door, a sound made him pause. A soft cry, faint but clear, came from the box. He froze, his hand on the doorknob. The cry wasn't a hiss this time. It was soft, almost pleading, almost grateful. He dared not turn back. If he did, he might never find the strength to walk away. Outside, the world went on as if nothing had happened. Cars passing, people chatting, life continuing. But for him, everything had changed. He had gone from savior to survivor, from proud rescuer to broken-hearted man. And deep inside, one haunting question refused to let him go. Had he truly saved the creature, or had the creature saved him by revealing the truth before it was too late? The answer, he realized, would follow him forever. The days that followed felt empty. The man returned home to silence, his jacket folded neatly on the chair, the blanket still carrying the faint scent of the little creature he had cared for. Every corner of the house reminded him of those brief nights, the cries in the dark, the way it curled up for warmth, the strange yet undeniable bond they had shared. He kept telling himself he had done the right thing, yet his heart felt heavier with each passing hour. That night, as he lay awake staring at the ceiling, he replayed the vet's words. "If you had kept this any longer, things could have ended very differently." Those words echoed like a warning bell. His mind raced with images of what might have happened, shadows in the hallway, glowing eyes in the dark, the sharp scrape of claws against wood. He shivered, pulling the blanket tighter, torn between fear of what could have been and sorrow for what was lost. The next morning, unable to rest, he decided to visit the sanctuary where the vet said the creature would be kept. It wasn't far, tucked away on the edge of a dense forest, surrounded by high fences and guarded gates. The air was crisp, filled with the distant sounds of animals hidden deep within. As he stepped inside, the staff greeted him warmly, though their faces carried the weight of responsibility. "I came to see the little one I brought in," he explained, his voice unsteady. A caretaker nodded, leading him through winding paths to an enclosure. The man's breath caught as he saw it. There, behind reinforced glass, the small creature was no longer curled and helpless. It stood taller now, its legs steadier, its movement sharper. Its eyes glowed with an alertness that chilled him to his core. Yet when it noticed him, something strange happened. The creature paused. For a brief moment, its gaze softened, almost as if it recognized him. His heart twisted. He placed his hand gently against the glass, whispering, "Do you remember me?" The creature tilted its head, its ears twitching at the sound of his voice. For a fleeting second, the world around him faded. It was just the two of them again, the man and the life he thought he had saved. A caretaker's voice broke the silence. "You should be proud. Most people would have left it to die. Because of you, it has a chance now. But don't be fooled by its size. One day, this will grow into something powerful, something you wouldn't want inside your home." The man nodded, though his eyes remained fixed on the creature. Pride and pain mixed inside him, an ache that words couldn't explain. He wanted to believe that his love had left a mark, that somewhere deep inside this wild heart, a memory of kindness remained. Days turned into weeks, and though he tried to move on, he found himself returning to the sanctuary more often than he admitted. Each time, the creature was bigger, stronger, more commanding. Its teeth gleamed, its claws lengthened, and its cries grew deeper, echoing with a force that made even the staff cautious. Yet every time it saw him, that same pause, that same flicker of recognition, returned. The bond between them, though fragile, was undeniable. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and the forest shadows stretched long, the man stood once again before the glass. The creature paced restlessly, its energy too large for the space it was kept in. The caretaker beside him whispered, "It knows it's not meant to be here. Soon it will be released into the wild. That's where it belongs." The words stabbed him with finality. Release into the wild meant goodbye forever. No glass between them, no visits, no chance of recognition. The man's throat tightened, his eyes burning. He pressed his palm to the glass, watching the creature mimic the motion with its claws. For a moment, man and beast stood as mirror images, bound by a strange and fleeting connection. "Goodbye, little one," he whispered, his voice breaking. "Be free, be strong, and remember, once someone loved you." The creature let out a low, haunting cry, not quite a growl, not quite a whimper. The sound followed him as he turned and walked away, echoing in his chest long after he left the sanctuary gates. That night, he stood by his window, staring at the dark line of trees in the distance. Somewhere out there, beyond human reach, the creature would one day roam. The thought terrified him, yet strangely, it also filled him with hope. He realized that saving it hadn't been about keeping it. It was about giving it a chance to live the life it was meant to live. For the rest of his days, he carried the memory of that fateful discovery, the cries in the bushes, the warmth of a fragile body against his chest, the pale face of the vet revealing the truth. It became a story he shared with caution, a story of love, loss, and the thin line between compassion and danger. People listened, wide-eyed, some disbelieving, others moved to tears. And every time he told it, his voice carried the same weight. "I thought I saved a puppy, but in truth, I saved myself from a fate I can't even imagine." Years later, walking along the forest's edge, he paused. From deep within the trees, a cry echoed. It was low, powerful, commanding, but beneath the strength, there was something hauntingly familiar. He froze, his heart pounding. Could it be? The sound faded into the distance, swallowed by the wilderness. He stood there for a long time, torn between fear and longing. Maybe it was only his imagination. Or maybe, just maybe, the creature had not forgotten after all. He turned away slowly, a faint smile breaking through the sadness. Whatever the truth was, one thing remained certain. A piece of his soul would forever belong to that wild heart he once held in his arms. And for him, that was enough.